Okay, so today we'll be mainly speaking in English since our guest is a Canadian kid. So it'll be easier for her. But she understands Mandarin. So if you later have questions, feel free to speak in Mandarin. So we'll start our career interview. Thank you again, everybody, for getting up early to come online and to hear what we want to share. So today I'm really excited to invite Rachel to share her journey of self-exploration and how she found her dream internship opportunity. So yeah, now we welcome Rachel and let Rachel give us a little introduction of who she is and what she's doing right now.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Jade. Yeah, I'm really excited to be able to chat with you all today. It's funny. I was telling Jade how my mom was actually just letting me know yesterday night. She was like, "Oh, like Jade's holding a session and someone's speaking with a business and health science background. Like you should join in and listen." And then I was like, "Oh yeah, like I'm the one speaking," because she didn't know. So definitely, like, even if it was a year ago or even like this year, if someone else is holding a session like this, I would be in your shoes. I'm not probably that much older than you guys, or maybe probably even younger than some of you. But I will introduce myself a little bit. So my name is Rachel. I am in my fourth year. So I just finished my fourth year currently, studying at Western University and Ivey Business School, doing a dual degree in health sciences and business. So I was, born in Canada. So that's why my Chinese is not the best, but definitely know a little bit of Mandarin from just speaking with my parents and like my grandparents. But I would say my sort of job, or I guess work experience, is of course still, not very extensive, but a lot of in high school and even in my beginning years of university, all of my job experiences were all like working with kids as a teacher, as a camp counselor. So not exactly the exact like professional experience, I guess, that people are looking for when you're trying to look for like a full-time job or career goal afterwards. That may be some of you in the same shoes, or maybe not, but at least that was for me. So I definitely completely understand how difficult it is to be able to land that first internship where it's in your actual field of study, or like a more career office or whatever that you guys are looking for. But I would say, as I guess just an encouragement, I think it definitely gets easier after you land that first internship because you have some experience under your belt that's relevant. But getting off track. But so yeah, I kind of did all my experience working with camp counseling, and I really enjoyed just like working with kids or children, or I guess supporting students as well, just in general, who I was maybe only a bit older in. So even in university, I was a residence advisor, I was like a FOSHSA leader. And I did my first sort of more professional internship last year as a marketing intern at a company called Waterstone Human Capital. And then currently I'm doing a business development role at a mental health focused organization called Inkblot Therapy. So essentially they provide resources and provide a platform for people to be able to use counseling services all online. So it's like a mental health tech company, which was definitely an area that I was really interested in. And then right now I just started around 2 months ago. So on a more, I guess, personal level, I've always really enjoyed like baking. I have a dog named Milo, who has gone on walks with Jade's dog quite a lot and her family. And I love rock climbing. I love going for runs. I love being active. And yeah, that's a little bit more about me.
That's cool. Yeah, I met Rachel through her mom, and the first time we met, it was a few months ago. I think you were still in the exploration process, but
Yeah.
I was amazed how much you've done and how much thinking you've done for what you want, where you want to be in the future. So can you take us back to your decision making on your university choice? How did you know back then what to choose in terms of like what to learn, and after that, how will you be using what you learn for the career? What was your plan? How did you make that plan?
Yeah, so I guess my route is a little bit different from other people. So yes, I'm studying like business and health science right now, but had absolutely like no intention of studying business like whatsoever when I entered university. Even my parents were like, after I went to business school, they're like, yeah, I still like can't believe that you're in business school. Like out of everyone, I would have never imagined you in there. So I really wanted to go to Western for their health science program because I knew that it was very macro focused. So in high school, like I, was like doing the sciences like most like Asian students in like the Asian six pack and whatnot. So I was always involved in the sciences. That's what I was comfortable with. And I really liked how Western, their health science was a bit different from their medical science because it looked at health in a more like holistic perspective. It's kind of like the social science study of health at Western. And for me, that was a lot more interesting because I was learning about how like social determinants affect like an individual or like a population's health, and how we can, enhance someone's or a group or a population's health through like different health promotion strategies, or how health policy affects individual health. And that for me was just a lot more practical, and I just found more interesting than learning like the very molecular, like biochemistry, organic chemistry area of sciences, where I felt was a lot more like far removed from just our daily interactions with people. So I went to Western, knowing that I really was interested in health science, and I really like knew that it was the right program for me because I just loved like my courses. Like I was interested, engaged in classes. I liked studying. I liked just what I was learning. I felt it was very useful in me improving my own health, and also I guess supporting those around me to be healthier, which I guess like this health focus has just been an area of impact, I guess, for me, that I think is so important because like everyone, like your health really determines like the quality of your life, regardless of how much money you make, regardless of whatever else. Like if you don't have your health, then you can't really enjoy your life and the relationships around you to the full capacity. So I was just passionate about helping make people be healthier. And I guess so how I transitioned in business, because the Ivey Business School works a little bit differently in how your first 2 years, anyone can do any program that you want, and then you only enter Ivey in your third and your fourth year. I didn't really have to, I guess, like make a decision until after I finished my second year. So when I got accepted, so what happened was I applied in high school, like technically for it, even though I wasn't like deciding to go to it. I was just like, oh, like let me just apply, just like as a backup, or like if something I'm interested in the future. So when I officially got my acceptance at the end of second year, I really had to decide if I wanted to do this or not. And it was very difficult. I just honestly like chatted and like reached out to so many different people to kind of gain their advice. So people who were in the program, people who maybe got accepted but didn't accept the program, people who did the dual degree with health science. And ultimately, the decision came down to how like I actually ended up speaking with someone who I got connected through someone like, okay, so another backstory was, I guess, like I've always wanted to be a teacher ever since I was very little, which is why I guess connect back to why I've always done a lot of like camp counseling, like teaching jobs, working with kids. So my biggest thing was after health science, maybe I'll just be a teacher and maybe teach in high school and like teach like gym or like something with like health related. So I was like, okay, either, continue with health science, maybe go to teacher's college afterwards, or do business and do like the dual degree with health science. And I think it came down to me speaking with a teacher who was almost retired, who did go to Ivey and then ended up going teaching. And he said, if you don't take this opportunity, you might really miss out. But if you do take this opportunity and teaching is still your passion at the end, you can still do it afterwards. Like there's no like downside, I guess, to like doing Ivey, because you are going to learn so much from it. You'll be very challenged, you'll be out of your comfort zone, but you won't like regret, I think, your decision. So that's kind of how I decided to do business. So really was knowing that I was passionate about health science. I knew this is where I wanted to work, but I didn't feel like what I was learning in health science was exactly direct tools that I could apply in a job, or at least a job that I wanted, because I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to exactly work in like health policy or public health, in like a more like desk office job, I guess. So I was like, okay, let me do business, kind of build to my tool set and learn new skills that I just, wouldn't have known before, and hopefully bring that towards a company that is healthcare focused, that I'm passionate about their mission, their values, and what they're doing, and then hopefully be able to bring a new skill set in so that I can help that company in some way. So that's sort of how, for me, like I decided to do business, and I knew for sure that I only do it if I could do like my dual degree and I could kind of still study both, which is what I'm doing right now, which is why I have one more year left before I graduate.
Okay. It's so good to know that you care about health a lot, but for most people, that only means being a doctor. What seems to be the only one option, either a doctor, a teacher, or a business world. So that's what I hear from most students. So that is very interesting. So there are more ways to look at health, and you eventually found something that is a great niche market that can combine the health and business part. You always seems to know what you want. Is although it was not specific at the beginning, but at least you have a clear vision of where you want to be. You might adjust it. But have you encountered any uncertainty or obstacles? And how did you overcome that?
Like definitely 100%. Like I said, I didn't have much of a business background at all, and just no general interest. So it wasn't like I was involved in clubs or anything that were business focused. So when I went into like Ivey for business, of course I was surrounded by people who were very different from me, just personality wise, ambition wise. Like Jade said, I never really had a clear idea of exactly what I wanted to do. Not even saying like I really exactly know now. It was, I knew I wanted to do something in health, and I wanted to do something meaningful and impactful, but like that was about it. And everyone around me knew exactly that they wanted to do this and then go here and then become a partner here and then move up here and then like eventually like come here. And that was very like intimidating for me. And just like the I guess like the typical like business personality was a bit more different from me. So I think a lot of times I definitely doubted myself in terms of whether it was the right decision for me to go into business school. I felt very just incompetent compared to the people around me when I didn't understand as easily like what we were learning, or even like networking, for example. I hated doing it. I was like, this feels so ingenuine, and like I don't like talking to people to like try to use them for something, was kind of the initial mindset I had around it. And now it's definitely changed a bit, and I'll share a little bit more about that. But it definitely like wasn't easy for me to feel like I was on the right path. I think really until I started like getting more like experience in terms of like work. So I would say like even like really until like this summer, when now I really like what I'm doing, that I'm like looking back, I'm like, like I can see that what I learned in school, I'm like really using now, and it's really helping me now. But like during the process of learning it, I was like, what am I learning? Why am I learning this? Like, I'm not going to become an investment banker or financial analyst or whatever. Like, I don't understand why I need to know this. But when you get into like a job field and you realize that kind of what you did learn is useful, then that's when you appreciate it usually. And I guess in terms of overcoming it, I think a lot of it was just for me to also accept that is, I guess, a little bit of sort of like self-acceptance of realizing that it's okay that you're not the exact same as like the people around you. So for me, I was like, it's okay that I'm not maybe as ambitious as like everyone around me. Like they have their own like lifestyle, the way that they've been brought up, maybe pressure from their parents, or maybe just different end goals. And I don't have to try to change my end goal to match theirs just to be more like them. Because my definition of what I want to do with my life and maybe what makes me happy is very different from other people. So I think a lot of that pressure probably or uncertainty came with me comparing myself with others. So I think overcoming it was just for me to focus on myself and to focus on like my own path, and also seeing how much I've grown and learned from where I was maybe, you know, a few months ago, instead of comparing myself to where other people were around them, because I came from a different place than they did as well. So I think that was definitely like very helpful. And again, like it's something that you might not just appreciate until a little bit later on, when you're like struggling in the moment. But then like even like networking, like how difficult it is, or doing all these things to finally land that first internship. It's like hard in the moment, but then once you do get it and you get to somewhere that you're happy with, looking back, you always appreciate it.
Wow, I never knew it was so hard for you to network with other people. I thought you were just a natural networker when I first met you, and I remember talking about going downtown almost every day to meet people. I thought this is what you have to do and what you're doing every day. So it's interesting. We'll get to that a little bit later. People would love to hear how to do the networking thing, especially when you're not a natural networker like a team.
Mm-hmm.
And then share with us a little bit more of how you found your internships. You found many before, especially the most impressive ones. And for this one, in this pandemic time, it was everything is harder. So tell us about how you went about that.
Yeah. So I will say, so I remember when I was talking to Jade about how I said, oh, I actually didn't find these internships through networking. But then reflecting back, I realized I kind of did. So so let's say my internship last year and my internship this year. So I did apply for them through my school's career portal. So I did find that was very difficult though, because even with like Ivey, they have their own like career portal that's separate from Western. And, you know, Ivey is known for all their like more like networking or job opportunities, etc. It was very difficult for me to find, I would say, and for my peers to find a job solely through this career portal, because, for example, like my background is essentially the same as all my other peers who are also applying on this network portal. Like the only thing that maybe differentiates me a bit is, you know, my Ivey business degree. But then if I'm applying on the career portal, everyone who's applying has, you know, the Ivey business degree, and they probably have much more business experience than I do. So like last year, which is when I was looking for my first more business job, I was very, very discouraged and I found it very difficult. So one recommendation I did get was to really not only focus on like your school's career portal, but also be able to look at like LinkedIn, look at like Indeed, look at other job boards. And of course, second was trying to like network with people. So I would say that for both my internships last year and this year, yes, I applied for them through the career portal, but I think I got the I actually got the job because I networked. So for last year, I worked at Waterstone, and I think after I got like notified that I got the interview, I reached out to the people who were in that internship position like previously. So to just chat with them a little bit more about what their internship experience was like, what they did, I guess like what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it, you know, just like typical things. And usually they're very like open to being able to speak with you, because again, like they were the past interns, so they're not that much older than me. So for example, if someone were to reach out to me and ask and they wanted me to talk about my time at Waterstone last year, I would be more than happy to help them, because, you know, you're only a few years younger than them, you understand how difficult it is. And during my interview, I would always somehow like bring up the fact that I talked to this person or that person who worked there before. And I think I could really tell that they were really impressed by that. Like I would be like, like sometimes it depends on how you bring it up, but if they just ask like, oh, how do you know about us or why do you want to work with us? I'd be like, oh, like I actually chatted with Julie who like worked, Julie, and of course they know who she is because they work with her, and be like, oh, and she said that she really liked how like she got to do this and was involved in this, and the company culture was like this, and then they're really impressed by that because they're like, oh, like you actually did like research, and not just like research on our company on like the website, but you actually took the time to go out to reach out to someone, and it shows that you're really interested in this opportunity. And I think that was very like unique for them. And even for my job, for my job this year. So when I applied, I like reached out to just like someone on the team, and then it just happened to be that was the person who like ended up like calling me to offer me like the job and to offer me the internship. And sometimes it's about like trying to make sure you're kind of chatting with the right person. So I guess ideally it'd be nice if you like could chat with like the HR manager. But for me, I found that like I really just wanted to chat with the person that I wanted to learn more about. So yes, like the HR manager would be the person who I guess like could accept you or not. It depends on how big the organization is. But when you're networking with someone, you want to have a specific reason for why you're like chatting with them. So when I reached out to the girl at my current company, even though she wasn't the one interviewing me, the supervisor who was interviewing me, when she did interview me, she actually said, oh yeah, this girl told me about you. She told me that you guys like chatted before when I mentioned that I chatted with her. So that just like gave me, I feel like a little bit more of like an in, knowing that they could see that I had chatted with them already beforehand.
Okay, that is a great insight. Actually, it's not just networking skill that brought you there. It's the passion you have, like the way you went out of your way to find people and talk, and then the information you exchange with each other. You definitely can give them some impression that how much this job is like goes in line with what you want. And just from your description of what you just told us, actually although for the technical part or experience part, you're exactly the same with all your classmates, all your peers. That what makes the difference is actually how you look at yourself and what is your passion, what do you want to achieve in life. Like the health and the people are your concerns, and you are doing things along the way. So I think this is a perfect demonstration of how much you understand about yourself really helps you to get to the door of the right opportunity that can give you the platform to do it. That's cool. And so do you have any suggestions? One more thing. You must have had a lot of rejections along the way. So I can tell you're a very resilient person and you kept trying. So how did you handle rejections?
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think if I look at my inbox from last year, because this last year is my first year looking for a more like professional internship when I didn't have a lot of professional experience, I probably have more than like 100 rejection emails. But I think dealing with rejection, it really comes with like realizing that you still learned from that experience, like whether it was like being able to still have an interview, and with each experience you get better for your next one. So I remember my mom actually told me this. I remember when I applied for this job at Sanofi, which is a pharmaceutical company, I had networked and I had chatted with kind of the head like medical director, and then when I like went in, I felt like had a really good interview, and just had a really good connection with the team. It was close by, it was in health. I thought it was like the perfect job. And I told my mom, like, I think it went like really well. it was probably my like second or third maybe like in-person interview. And I remember my mom like directly telling me, she was like, honestly, I'll be really surprised if you get this job, because you need to go through a few failures and before you really get good at kind of like interviewing. And you like, I think you'll be really, really lucky if you get this job. Even though I told her like, I think it went really well and like everything. And yeah, in the end, I didn't get it. And I was very, I was definitely like very hurt. But I think I learned that what she said was like just completely true. The more interviews that I had, just the more comfortable I got with interviewing, the more I understood what I wanted. And the rejections actually also kind of helped me see what I was really passionate about, because the jobs that I applied to where I got rejected and I didn't really care, I was like, well, probably shouldn't have even applied in the first place because I'm not that interested in it. But the ones where I was like, oh my gosh, like I really wanted this, I kind of reflect back, oh, what about this company that I really like? And that helped me find new jobs that I should be applying for that were maybe a bit more similar to this. So kind of like your emotions usually, you know, really tell you kind of your areas of passion and interest. But I think it's just realizing that, looking at them as still opportunities to learn from, and as well as a rejection this year doesn't mean a rejection maybe in the following year, right? So in that company that I got rejected to, actually very funny, my roommate who I lived with, one of my housemates who I lived with this year, who I'm really close with, actually ended up being the one who got it. So when I heard that she got it, I was like totally okay, like totally understand. Like we're both in Ivey, we're both very similar backgrounds, and she's like an amazing person. But she actually, like, I reached out to them again this year, and I had a lunch with them, because I said before I had a really good connection with them. And yeah, they were like, yeah, please like make sure to apply again. So even your rejections maybe in a following year maybe just your networking opportunity or lead for a next year as well. So I think that's a good way to look at it.
Great. So never give up. And
Yeah.
also you learn from the past. So each failure teach you some valuable lesson. And also your mom is definitely right. For us, the average like in-person interview that can bring you a job offer normally is about 4 to 5. And those are the ones you really, really want. And you did really, really well. But there are some other factors, right? You never know who are competing with you and whether they like somebody better than you. So this is just a fact that we have to take in terms of job searching. It's only one success, and all the previous things are failure, but you handle it really, really well. So one last question, any suggestions you can give to the job seekers, either for internship, co-op, or full-time job?
For sure. So it's funny because I actually attended a kind of like a networking session or like webinar just on Thursday. And one thing that she kind of reminded me about was the importance of obviously networking. But I guess she really she showed me a video, which I tried to look for it, but I couldn't find it. But essentially the importance of networking, because of the fact that you really need to use your outer circle. Because sometimes your inner circle just isn't enough. And I guess I know Jade wanted me to talk a little bit about networking and kind of tips on how to do it. But I think you guys will only really listen if you realize why it's important. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that first. So like I said before, I did not like networking. And I only got LinkedIn last year. And I just felt like even in the beginning when I started networking, I just felt very ingenuine. I was bad at following up with people. And then that made me feel even worse, because then I literally did only talk to them once and then didn't talk to them again. And I felt like I used them and things like that. But I think changing my mindset around it, realizing that it goes both ways. So when you network with someone and you follow up, you're also putting you're asking for maybe help or connections, but you're also putting yourself out there in the circle where if they ever need something, you're letting them know as well that they can also come to you, because as you grow older, you're going to grow your own network that maybe someone else can benefit from. So just how you would feel if someone were to ask you to have a chat, and you're more than welcome to be able to share your experiences and chat with them, and are kind of excited that someone would want to hear from you. That's how other people feel when people reach out to them. So you never want to feel like you're burdening someone. But basically her networking session talked about how, for example, my inner circle, which are like my close friends, maybe like my parents, like they really only know like so many people in maybe the direct field that I want to be in. So for example, like when I was looking for business jobs, my parents aren't really exactly in business. So it's not like they're going to have friends or family that maybe your friends might have, who can connect me with someone. And my friends like have kind of the same network as I do. They're all young, they don't have much experience, and etc. So to really benefit from networking, you have to just leave your inner circle of close friends and family and talk to people who are maybe a bit far more removed. Maybe it's like a friend of like a friend, or people in the industry. And I guess the importance of that is just realizing that your inner circle like already would have helped you as much as you can, and sometimes you just have to go towards that outer circle to get more help, and that's okay. And I guess when you're networking, I kind of mentioned it. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Sorry. I guess tips for networking is first that it's quality over quantity. So when I'm on LinkedIn trying to see like who I want to chat with, first it's really about like, okay, very first step is about figuring out what you want, which is what Jada talked about figuring out your passion. And I know that's like very difficult, but once you figure out kind of an area of where you're more interested in, then, you know, like looking on LinkedIn, you want to find specific people, maybe in roles or positions or in companies that you want to do, but don't like message like too many people. Like talk to people that you have a very specific reason for why you want to talk to them. Maybe like they went to the same school as you, that can be like usually a connection, or maybe you see that their past experiences were in volunteering and that's similar to you. So when you talk to them, have questions prepared, and like ask questions that only they can answer. Like if I talk to someone, I'll ask a little bit about you know, like their company maybe, but like you can find that information from a website. You want to ask some questions about like personal experiences, about like tips, advice, like that really gets people talking. Things that like no one else can answer other than them, and make it clear that you've done your research about like their background, and, you know, ask for them to elaborate more on that. Things that you just can't get from a website that you can from them. And I think, sorry, I'm trying to read what else I wrote about it. Oh, yes. And then also like following up with them. So one thing that the webinar kind of mentioned is that you want to be able to follow up and, you know, let them know if maybe you are able to find an internship afterwards, and just like reach out to them and stay connected with them, so that when you maybe need to reach out to them again and maybe like ask for something, it doesn't seem like the only time you're talking to them is when you need something. And again, once you develop that relationship with them, it becomes very clear, like I kind of mentioned before, that it's a relationship and it's not just you using them. As in, when it's a relationship, it's like you guys are both connected, so they can also refer anyone to chat with you, or you know, ask your support for anything in that sense. And that way it's a beneficial relationship, instead of just you only approach them when you kind of need something. Like that's something that I wouldn't be able to do. And of course, just like be genuine, like when you're chatting with them. And then let's see what else. Oh, yes. And then I think like also really take advantage of the situation right now, because I would usually recommend to definitely like be in person, which is why when I was talking with Jade, I went like downtown and I went to go meet with them. I definitely like do not do that a lot. I think just right before I met with you, it was reading week, so I tried to schedule a lot of chats during reading week. But I think right now, because people literally can't meet up with people and everyone's like working from home and they just probably have a bit more free time, I think people would be more than happy to kind of chat with you, if you just reach out to them like how you would normally networking, because it'll just be through a Zoom call like this. It's probably a little bit less intimidating. And I think your first time chatting with them, it's nice to have it be over a phone or a Zoom call. And then, you know, once hopefully the pandemic is a little bit cooled down, then you can reach out to them again and be like, hey, like, it was nice chatting with you on phone or through this call. Could we meet up in person? And then that way you can chat a little bit more. But I guess like going back to the very first step, I know Jade also mentioned about like you figure out where you want to network once you figure out where your passion is. And that was the second thing that I wanted to chat about, where I learned from myself, really from this past internship that I'm just currently in right now, that passion doesn't just like hit you. Usually you don't just wake up one day and realize, oh my gosh, like I'm very passionate about this now. Like it really kind of just takes like time and experiences. So for me, I knew that, you know, I was kind of passionate about healthcare because in high school, I was like very involved in like sports, and I was on like the healthy councils, the committee for school, whatever. That was like very broad, right? And then once I went into university and I studied more, I like narrowed it down a little bit. And then once I'm in like my job right now and enjoying like what I'm doing, I'm learning that, oh, I'm passionate about doing this like this kind of business stuff because I realize that I'm really passionate, like I believe in the mission and values of my company. But these were only like things that I realized about myself through like these internships and through like my experiences, and realizing just like what made me like happy, or like when I'm networking with people, like what gets me actually very excited and what gets me very engaged. Like being able to reflect and see when I'm most interested and engaged is what, like through talking with people and through seeing which conversations really interest you the most, is where you kind of little by little like discover what you're passionate about. And I've done, or you can like, even if you do like books, like I've been trying to, when I like network with people, ask them like what kind of books that they recommend, and then try to like read a little bit more about different information. And then if I'm really interested in a book, like I said, your emotions kind of really tell you where your passions are. But it's a lot about differentiating like where you're really interested in and where you think everyone else like wants you to go. So for me, like in my school, a lot of people kind of go into the consulting route, and I wasn't sure if, oh, like, am I just too scared to do it, or like, do I just like feel like I should be doing it because everyone around me is doing it? But when I started looking into it and try to learn a bit more, I just like wasn't interested in it. And when I talked to consultants who really love their job, I was like, this is really cool, but I'm not really like can see myself in that role and like seem like really interested in it. But sometimes talking about it directly like also isn't the best way to be able to know everything. Sometimes you just need to get a bit more experience to like and talk to more people, like read more, do a bit more self-discovery, talk to Jade, and then for you to really discover where your passions are. But it takes work to figure out what it is. It usually doesn't just like come by and like hit you, or like you have like one day where you wake up and you realize what you're passionate about. It takes just self-discovery to figure that out.
Yeah, what a great reflection. Thank you so much for your sharing. It's you are a perfect example of how people explore themselves. But actually what is good about yourself is you know upfront early on that you care about people's health. So this never changed, right? It's been so many years. It's still the tick inside of you, and then you want to help people. This is what it is the like fundamental thing. It's the core passion, we call it, but then most people don't know how to apply it, where to apply it. There can be millions of jobs, and there are different industries. So this part is what you have to really explore and find out. If you know the true passion that that you really care about, it will probably never change. You pursue it, but then you'll find something along the way. And by the way, very, very good choice. I remember you were saying about describing what the ideal job would be like. One thing would be like a fast growing or like has growth potential. Unfortunately, the mental health area is a fast growing industry. So the millennials are facing a lot of health issues, mental health issues, and it will be a huge sector in the future. And what you are doing and the company is doing will benefit a lot of people. And in the long run, we can see this is happening, and even in China, throughout the world. So good choice. Well, thank you so much for sharing today. So we'll give more time for more questions later on.